All right, everybody. Welcome to another YouTube live stream slash going to be podcast. This is James Wilson with MTB Strength Training Systems and BikeJames.com. And today I wanted to share with you guys what I think is the low-hanging fruit, the fastest way for you to improve your performance, especially as a 40 plus rider. Like if you follow this advice for just a couple of weeks, you will see a marked improvement in your performance on the trail. So what I'm talking about are breathing gears and isometrics. And so what I want to do is explain like why these things are important, how to use them, and how to apply them to the trail. And so this came up from an interaction that I had with someone who was asking a question. I'd done a webinar on better breathing. And as part of that, I talked about breathing gears. And he was asking a question about applying breathing gears to his riding. And so I gave him some advice on how to do that, which I'm going to get into, share that advice with you guys, and also how to integrate isometrics into that as well. And he came back a couple weeks later and gave me his feedback on how it had helped him. And he was able to, in just a week, literally a week of applying this advice, he was able to improve his performance by 5%, which again, it's not like this giant thing, but then again, this is 1 week, right? It's a marked improvement. He was able to improve his PR on a 5-minute Strava segment by 17 seconds. Okay. So imagine that, right? Imagine being able to literally improve your PR by 17 seconds on a 5-minute section by just simply following this advice for a week or two. So that's why I think that breathing gears and using isometrics, they are the low-hanging fruit for the 40 plus year old rider, really any rider, but especially the older rider. Like as we get older, it is important that you're doing things to maximize what you have. Like our ability to add to our capacity starts to diminish. Our capacities start to naturally diminish. And so at that point, it becomes an efficiency thing. How efficient are you with what you have? Now, again, obviously you can add your capacity there. I'm not saying that can't happen as you get older, but if you've been training and riding for a while, then as you get older, man, your ability to do that really starts to diminish. So again, it becomes an efficiency thing. So like I said, I think that breathing gears and isometrics are like the number one thing you can do. So I've got my notes here to keep me on track here. So if you're not familiar with the concept, breathing gears is simply applying a specific breathing pattern to different effort levels. The goal is to use your breathing to drive your movement instead of letting your movement dictate your breathing. So what I mean by that is most riders go out and they're not really conscious of applying their breathing proactively. They just start riding, and whatever the effort level is, then that dictates what their breathing is going to be. But the problem with that, if you do that, you're usually going to be behind the metabolic 8-ball, behind the curve, right? And so you're going to get to the edges of your cardio capacity sooner than if you're more proactive with your breathing. So the breathing gears make you more metabolically efficient, and they keep you ahead of that metabolic energy production curve. So you'll be able to push harder for longer before reaching those edges of your cardio capacity. So when you reach that edge of your cardio capacity, that's when you got to back off. You either need to slow down, or if you keep pushing and hope you get to the end of that effort before you hit the wall, and you don't, you're going to hit the wall and you have to stop. So again, you hit those edges, and that's where you have to either stop or slow down. And so our goal is to be able to push as hard and as long as we can before we get to those edges of our cardio capacity. So the breathing gears, the basic breathing gears, again, there's a lot of nuance to this. I've seen this, as many as like 5 different breathing gears, but the 3 basic breathing gears that I teach riders and encourage them to think about using, your first gear is for easy efforts. This is a long inhale and exhale through the nose. So this is for an easy effort. So again, just in through the nose, out through the nose, right? Nice and easy. So the second gear is for your moderately hard efforts. And so this is going to be a sharp inhale through the nose, and then a long or it's going to be a long exhale through the nose, and then a sharp exhale through the mouth. So right? So that's like a second, your second gear. Your third gear is going to be a sharp inhale and exhale through the mouth. So this is like your hard effort where you're just like, okay. So that's your third gear. So again, like I said, there's a lot of nuance to this. And if you have trouble breathing through your nose, so I personally, I have trouble breathing through my nose when I'm doing hard efforts on the trail, especially if it's, kind of cold and your nose gets stopped up, whatever. And so if you're not able to breathe through your nose, you can still use this concept. The idea is to focus on the length of your inhales, right? And so basically the longer the inhale and the exhale, the more the more relaxed you're going to be, that you want to apply that to your easier efforts. So even if you're not able to breathe through your nose, you can still apply this through mouth breathing, and trying to work in through the nose. And again, if you force yourself to breathe through your nose, you really are conscious about it, you will get better at it and find yourself able to power more movement through nose breathing. But again, you can just simply lengthen the inhales and the exhales as needed. So so that's the basic idea with the breathing gears. Now, you want to use these breathing gears for both easy and hard efforts. So for easy efforts, you want to focus on slowing your breathing down and only breathing as much as you need to for the effort at hand. So I see a lot of riders who blow themselves out by breathing way harder than they need to on easy efforts. They're just, on an easy trail section cruising, and they're still in like a second or third gear where they're like, and it's like, man, you want to be constantly trying to like downshift your breathing, get to where you're slowing the inhales and the exhales down. The longer of an exhale that you have, the better, right? And so that's really kind of the focus, is if you can slow down your exhale, then that's going to have a lot of metabolic advantages for you. So again, the getting into all the details of that isn't necessarily the point of this here. So again, I've got my better breathing webinar. You can go to my YouTube channel and do a search and find that there. And so I go into a lot of the metabolism and stuff behind this. But just in general, like the longer your exhale is, the better it's going to be for you. So really focus on trying to lengthen your exhale as soon as you can after a hard effort. And when if it's an easy effort, focus on lengthening the inhale, lengthening the exhale, and using that first breathing gear. So for the harder effort, so again, what you don't want to be doing is in easy efforts, you don't want to be over breathing. You don't want to be like breathing more than you need to power the effort, because that's just wasting energy, right? And so for harder efforts, you want to take the opposite approach, and we want to purposefully over breathe. So if we do this is going to put us ahead of that metabolic energy production curve, and oxygen plays a huge role in that. So by over breathing, you start to get oxygen to working muscles and clearing out CO2 faster than you need to. And that's going to help you stay ahead or stay out of major oxygen debt for longer. So to do this, you want to breathe in the gear that you're going to anticipate needing for the effort. So again, if you're cruising along at an easy pace and you're following my advice and you're lengthening your inhales and your exhales, and then you see a harder effort coming up, you want to proactively shift your breathing into that second or third gear right before you need it. So the best example of this, and honestly the one that will make the biggest impact for you on the trail, is if you see a hard climb coming up. The way that most riders approach this is they start climbing, and then as it gets harder, they start breathing harder. And so they're basically letting the effort level dictate their breathing. But if you shift your breathing into that third gear and you start breathing as hard as you can, like as soon as you hit the climb, like right before you hit that climb, you shift your breathing up, you're going to find that you're going to be able to push harder for longer on that climb. So again, using the breathing gears proactively is the best thing that you can do to maximize the cardio that you have. So don't get forced into oxygen debt and have that be what makes you start breathing harder. Start breathing harder to try to stay out of oxygen debt as much as you can. So the little like visual, the analogy that I like to use is like, if you're, in one of those old like steam powered locomotives and you see like a hill coming up, like they would start shoveling coal into the fire, anticipating that climb, right? So if you wait until you start slowing down to start shoveling that coal into the fire, it's too late. Like you've got to anticipate the amount of energy that you need to get up the climb and then start bringing that energy in. And so again, oxygen is a big part of that energy production. So bringing that oxygen in faster than you need to is going to help you stay ahead of that oxygen debt. So if you make smart use of your breathing gears, you're going to incur, like I said, like less oxygen debt. You're going to clear out CO2 faster. And so CO2 it's an interesting gas, right? Like we think of it as like a waste gas, but it actually plays a very important role in your body. And so from a positive standpoint, CO2 is what actually unlocks oxygen from your red blood cells to get it to working muscles. So you need carbon dioxide to unlock. You can have the oxygen in the red blood cells, but if you don't have the CO2 present to unlock it to get to the working muscles, then you're not going to be able to utilize it efficiently. So you need the CO2, but the problem is that CO2 is also what triggers that panicky, holy crap, I can't breathe feeling. And so as CO2 levels rise, that's what starts to trigger that. And so we're playing this balance game. So part of it is like developing better CO2 tolerance, and there's ways to do that, which I've covered in other topics, like breath holds and things like that help with that. But the other side is like using it to unlock that oxygen. So if you are over breathing purposefully, then you're clearing out the CO2. And so you're keeping it from rising too high to trigger that panicky, holy crap, I can't breathe feeling. So again, all of this means that you're going to be able to push harder for longer before acquiring so much oxygen debt that you're forced to slow down or stop to let the body catch up. So to train this, you want to use it, especially during your cardio workouts. Like I've been telling riders this for years, right? If you're not focusing on your breathing when you're doing your cardio training, then all you're probably doing is reinforcing crappy breathing habits. So you should really be focusing on this, like, good breathing into the belly, using the diaphragm to power your breathing, like avoiding chest breathing as much as possible. And then again, like proactively using your breathing gears. So if you're doing intervals, right, like during your easy efforts, your goal is to slow your breathing down as much as possible. Then when you hit the interval, like shift up into that second or third gear. Like don't start going and wait until it feels hard to start breathing harder. Breathe harder before you need to. And then when the interval's over, your goal is to, again, slow your breathing down as quickly as you can, downshift your breathing gears, and get back to those long inhales and exhales, preferably, through the nose, as quickly as you can, and then just repeat that. So if you do that when you're doing your workouts, you're doing your interval workouts, you're going to get a lot more out of those, because you're not only like training your metabolism and all that stuff that we usually associate with cardio training, but you're also training yourself to use the breathing gears more effectively. So another thing that you can do is to use isometrics, specifically ramping isometrics. So ramping isometrics are a great way for the 40 plus rider to improve their strength as well. So along with improving your ability to use breathing gears and so your cardio on the trail, you're going to be improving your strength. And so it's a great 1-2 punch for riders, especially if you're short on time, right? Like a quick 15, 20-minute isometric workout will just check so many boxes for you. So that's why I'm such a big fan of isometrics, and I talk about them so much. So with the ramping isometrics, let's see here. I may have skipped a page on my notes. So no, we got it right. Okay, cool. So I'm on track. So sorry about that. That's the fun of doing live, right? So anyways, but with the ramping isometrics, if you're not familiar with that, you're basically applying your breathing gears to different tension levels. So again, you can go to my blog at bikejames.com, do a search for ramping isometrics. I've got videos demonstrating this and showing you how to use this. But the basic idea is you're going to be doing a 30-second effort at 50%. So it's easy. And so you want to be using that easy breathing gear in and out through the nose. And then you ramp the tension level up to 80%. So it's getting moderately hard. And you want to go into the second breathing gear. So in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then finally, you have 10 seconds at 100%. And 100% effort, and that's in and out through the mouth. You're using that third gear. And so by applying your breathing gears to and using the isometrics to help you train that, again, it just reinforces using this on the trail. So then on the next trail ride that you go on, you start thinking about, okay, I've got to be proactive, use my breathing gears on my ride. And so you go into a hard section and you shift up into your third gear before you need to. You're going to find that you're going to be able to ride harder and longer before you start to reach those edges of your cardio capacity. So again, going back to, the feedback that I got, this guy who PR'd by 17 seconds on a 5-minute section. That's why he was able to do it. Again, this is after 1 week. He did this after 1 week of applying this advice. So again, like, you have the capacity in you to ride faster right now. It's just, how do you tap into that? And so breathing gears and isometrics are by far one of the best ways for you to do that. So hopefully this is giving you guys some info, some things that you can use. Again, start doing some isometrics. You don't need, I recommend using a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu belt, because it's just an easy way to use ramping isometrics. But you can just use like a large beach towel, right? So you can get wrap it around your back and like do chest presses. You can sit down and wrap it around your feet and do, pull it towards you to do rows. You can stand on it and grab it and do like a deadlift type movement. There's all sorts of ways that you can do that. And again, you can, find some different examples and stuff on my blog, but you can apply the ramping isometrics. You don't need much of any equipment. You can do it at home. It doesn't take very long. And like I said, after a week or two of using them, you will notice a difference on the trail. And that's the main thing, right? Like, if we're doing something, but we're not noticing the difference on the trail, then what are we doing it for, right? So, I mean, obviously there's things that you want to do to maintain health and fitness off the bike. But since my main goal is to help riders improve their performance on the trail, that's what I try to do, is give you guys things that is going to make a noticeable difference for your riding on the trail. So if you are interested in more info like this, then you should go to bikejames.com, sign up for my newsletter. I also have a link in the description to my strength and cardio basics for the 40+ rider. So in that, I go over everything that you need to get started with smart, effective strength training, including talking about isometrics. I've got a link in there showing ramping isometrics, talking about different, cardio and breathing drills that you can do. And even has a 4-week training program that you can use to get started using these things. So again, you can go and sign up for my newsletter at bikejames.com, and I'll send that to you, or you can just click the link in the description and sign up for it there. So I know there's a lot of things that you can do to improve your riding, but breathing gears, especially when you pair them with ramping isometrics, it's one of the easiest things you can do, and it's going to make a huge impact on your riding. So again, imagine, being 5% faster in just a week or two from using something this simple, right? And so, but here's the problem, and this is what I know. Unfortunately, most riders are not going to do this. Okay, so one, most riders are not really aware of this concept yet. And a lot of riders hear this, and for whatever reason, it's like too easy, or I don't know what it is, but they just kind of dismiss it to go keep chasing these other things. But that's going to give you an advantage, right? So if you do this, you're going to have an advantage over all the riders out there that aren't doing it. So if you do what other riders won't do, you'll be able to perform like most riders can't. And so that's really kind of the take-home message with training in general, right? Like, most riders are not going to put in the time to work on their mobility, their strength, their cardio, their breathing. And so if you want to ride better than most riders, you need to be willing to do what most riders won't do. And so breathing gears and isometrics are two of those things that most riders are missing out on. Again, they're not like really well-known concepts. And so a lot of people aren't aware of them. But now that you are, you have a secret weapon. So again, next time you're out on your next trail ride, use your breathing gears proactively, shift up into a harder gear in anticipation of a hard effort, slow your breathing down as quickly as you can when you're done, and pair that with using ramping isometrics at home, and you will see a marked improvement in your performance. So hopefully this is giving you guys something that you can use to help improve your performance and have more fun on the trail. Again, you can find more tips like this at bikejames.com, and I will talk to everybody next time.